Would Galactus be dense enough to have his own gravity? Well, let's assume that he's made out of flesh, like the good old stuff that you and I are made out of. The first thing to note is everything has its own gravity, even you and I, at human scale. The second thing to note is that Galactus has been portrayed to be many different sizes. I'm conveniently going to use the promo art for Marvel 3, where it looks like he could essentially hold the Earth in his palm. Because I play fighting games and more people should play fighting games. At that size, yes, Galactus would in fact attract a planet toward him. Merely being in the vicinity of Earth, he and the Earth would be attracted to each other. In fact, the Earth would be attracted to him even more so. He would be more massive. Which makes for a funny image if you think about it, right? Like, you're trying to be big and imposing and, like, threaten the Earth, but it keeps sticking to you like a piece of lint. Of course, again, like any science without science question, we're making assumptions. If Galactus didn't have the power cosmic, then Galactus would be a giant sphere of flesh. Its core would be super hot and super dense, and it would get less and less dense as you got closer and closer to its surface. And again, assuming human biology, that core is going to be something like bone. But again, this is a science without science question, so we have to assume bone can exist on that scale. If you actually did have a living planet full of bone or other organic material in the center, the heat and pressure from gravity would basically just turn it to coal or diamond, or some other more basic mineralized form. Like, that's why planets are made out of gas and rock and not bone. I think the most interesting thing is that spheroid Galactus would still have his hunger, in a loose sense of the word. Because if we are assuming that human flesh can exist in that size and still do all the chemical reactions it needs to do at that scale, then even at the slowest possible metabolism that we could think of for an animal here on Earth, just by existing, Galactus would be shedding a ton of mass per second. I don't mean a literal ton. I could do the math in another video if you want. Which means he would always be seeking to replace that mass. And since his gravitational field would essentially suck other planets to its body and add their mass to him, that's the most realistic part about Galactus in this thought experiment. Except he'd be a giant flesh sphere, and he'd eat via osmosis. Again, remember, that's just making the assumptions that we made. Marvel's explanation is that the power cosmic is basically science magic, and that takes a lot less effort to say than everything I just did.